Hello, my name is Miranda Del Santos, and this is my presentation on my extended executive summary for Walt Disney. First, we're going to look at the company overview as well as the mission and vision statement. Starting with the company overview, Disney was founded by Walt and Roy Disney, and in 1923, it started off as a cartoon company. In 1955, it went into theme parks, media outlets, and live action films, and by 1983, Disney went international. Next, we'll look at the mission statement. And the mission statement for Disney is to entertain, inform, and inspire people around the globe through the power of unparalleled storytelling, reflecting the iconic brands, creative minds, and innovative technologies that make ours the world's premier entertainment company. According to David, a mission should be consumer-based, societal competitive, and it should include benefits for stakeholders who are result-driven. And I believe that Disney does just that. Next is the vision statement. The vision statement is to be one of the world's leading producers and providers of entertainment and information. So according to David ETL 2020, a vision statement should be futuristic, inspiring, motivating, purpose-driven, and unique. And I believe Disney's is just that. Next, we'll look at the external factor evaluation matrix and the competitive profile matrix. The external factor evaluation matrix demonstrates how well a firm handles external factors. And some of the external factors would be opportunities and threats. And based on the ratings of those, we came up to a total weighted score of 2.1, and this is below average. The average is 2.5. This indicates that Disney is not capitalizing on opportunities to minimize their threats. Some of the opportunities that held a lower rating is park attendance and brand recognition. The threats that held the low ratings was product demand and major competition. Recommendation for this would do promotional ads, which is emailing customers, possibly text messaging customers, and things like that. And also advertisements. Advertisements work great in introducing the product to new consumers and attracting those new target markets. Next is CPM, and this compares the critical success factors to Disney's competition. So some of the major competitions for them would be Amazon and Netflix. As you can see, Disney is doing just a great job. They hold the highest score, but something they lack in is their customer service and their price competitiveness. So I would recommend introducing more training and development and some creative discounts to improve their score. Next is the financial ratio analysis and the internal factor evaluation matrix. The financial ratio analysis, it looks at things like quick ratio, total debt to equity ratio, return on equity. The return on equity for 2020 was 21%, and by 2021, it went down to 19%. This is a downward trend, and this demonstrates the company is failing to increase their revenue with shareholder equity. I would recommend profit margins by lowering some costs. Next is the IFE matrix. They received a total weighted score of 2.8 out of 4. This shows the major strengths and weaknesses in a company. And based on the score, yes, they can continue with their current strategy, but there's still room for improvement to at least get it to a 4. I would recommend investing their money in smaller companies. Lately, they've been investing their money into these bigger companies and overpaying for them. So possibly if they start with the smaller companies and help, grow those small companies into something bigger, it will save them a lot more. Next is your SWOT, BCG, and IE matrices. After conducting the SWOT matrix, I was ranking the strategies to opportunity, the strength to threat strategies, the weakness to opportunity strategies, and the weakness to threat strategies. And what I found was marketing sector and media output were one of the areas that needed improvement. I would suggest taking advantage of promoting the brand through campaigns and cross promotions. Next is the BCG matrix, and this evaluates strategic position of Disney, its brand portfolio, and its potential. And one of the areas that held a low revenue compared to the industry was the direct-to-consumer and international division. The industry revenue is $45,805, while Disney's revenue for that area is $16,319. I would recommend market penetration. This would include lowering prices and modifying current products. Next is internal-external matrix. This helps analyze the current position of the divisions, and it helps create strategies for future improvement. One of the areas that needs future improvement is parks licensing and other. It was located in Region 3 because the IFE and EFE scores were 1.8 and 2.0. I would suggest harvesting this area because it would help reduce the money spent in this area, and it would save on costs for more important things, or maybe even different divisions like, direct to consumer and international. So things like that would work great. Next, we have the space, grant, and QSP matrices. The space helps a company determine what strategic position would work best, and it would be based on the financial, competitive, stability, and industry position. Based on my findings, the aggressive strategy would be the best suggestion for them. This would include the backward integration, so buying another company to supply products and services needed for production. Next is the grant matrix. This helps formulate strategies based on market growth and competitive positions. So some of the strong competitive positions are the media network, studio entertainment, parks experience and products, and some of the weak competitive position would be the direct to consumer and international, as identified in previous slides. The parks experience and products would find joint ventures useful, and the direct to consumer would be better with international divestiture. The QSP matrix, this helps define strategic factors, measures advantages and disadvantages of the SWOT, and helps when it comes to decision making. My suggestion would be diversification. This would include international media networks and programs outside the US. Next, we have the perceptual maps and organizational chart analysis. Perceptual map shows how target customers view the company, and it compares it, in my version, I compared it to high cost to high quality. The reason this was done is we want to see how consumers view them in terms of cost and quality. Disney holds a high cost, but Cedar Point, their competitor, holds a high cost and high quality. So this shows that, Disney doesn't have as great as quality as their competitor in the consumer's eyes. Next, we have the organizational chart analysis. The previous one, this shows the internal structure of the organization. So the previous organizational chart was CEO on top, followed by the chief chairman and officers. I revised it to have the board of directors on top, then the CEO, followed by chief officers, and finally the VPs of the company. Next, we have the steps to financial recommendations. There are 3 things we should consider when making these recommendations: the EPS EBIT analysis, the financial statements, and the firm valuation. The EPS EBIT analysis helps us look at what the costs are going to be for the market development strategy, and should we use stock or debt to finance this. So I completed a 60% stock and a 40% debt. I found no difference, but I would prefer to use stock because I would rather the company not endure too much debt that they start to struggle. So using more stock would help the company in this market development strategy. Next is the financial statements. We would have to take a look at the current and the projected standings. The current, because we want to see where the company's at. Can they handle the strategies we're suggesting? So the current shows that there's a decrease in revenue, gross profit, and EBIT. But with the strategies I'm suggesting, there would be an increase in revenue and the EBIT by years 2023 to 2025. Last, we have the firm valuation. This is compared to one of their biggest competitors, which is Comcast. And this shows, how well they're doing against them. And based on this, Comcast has the higher net value because they are the larger firm. They hold more businesses out there. So I would recommend for Disney to catch up and even expand more the Comcast by opening more hotels, resorts, restaurants near the parks that they hold. Finally, we have leadership skills and specific decisions. Some leadership skills would include communication, imagination, embracement, and empathy. Communication, because you need to be able to communicate to your followers. Imagination, because you need to be open-minded. Embracement goes hand in hand with open-minded. You're going to take in everything that your followers provide, things like that. Empathy means showing your vulnerability. This would help with business opportunities for company leadership. It would improve diversification and help create an employee-centered business. So for Disney, this would help with better productivity, reputation, and higher profits. The last slide is Walt Disney's commitment to the greater good and the Christian worldview practices and how they go hand in hand with each other. So some of the ways they commit to the greater good is creating the Make-A-Wish Foundation, giving some charitable givings, offering some of their workers to do volunteer work, and offering complimentary tickets to those nonprofit organizations. This is good because it goes hand in hand with the Christian worldview practices because it shows what God teaches of justice, peace, and mercy. And Disney just wants to create a place of belonging, balance, and hope. So this is why their commitment to the greater good goes hand in hand with Christian worldview practices. And this is my references. Thank you and have a great day.